Good evening, ghouls and fiends. Welcome once again to another edition of the Ministry of Horror. I'm your host, Tezz, and I hope everyone is doing well. I had to suddenly check my levels because last time I did a live show, we got started. I hadn't set everything up properly and checked things, and yeah. It all went skew with, but we are live currently on twitch.tv/Tezius. Yes, I have a free Friday evening, and I felt like, hey, let's jump on and do a live stream. We haven't done one in a little while. I'm going to be going out of the country and on the road for many weeks coming soon, so the opportunity to do a live show, got to take it while I can. So thank you very much for all the people watching on twitch.tv/Tezius, people following the channel. What's been up? I mean, we're getting closer and closer to my wedding. I'm getting married in a couple of weeks' time. Very exciting. We have a live podcast. We are going to do a watch along a bit later on because the show is looking like it's going to be quite short. I know I usually say this, then I rabbit on for just eternity on this, that, and the other. But there's not a hell of a lot of news currently available to chat about. I should mention the TikTok has hit 666 followers today, which is very cool. It was only a month ago or so where we'd just been steady at 50 odd followers, which is cool. And then a video I did on Channel Zero blew up. It's over 10,000 views, which is really cool. I did like a little photo slideshow recently, just giving my my ratings of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, and that's done almost 5,000 views. Just a photo slideshow. I don't know exactly what's gonna catch on TikTok's algorithm and what isn't, but it's grown. It's grown nicely. It's weird though. Like Instagram gets similar. Well, not into the thousands, but a lot of videos get similar sort of numbers of views as they do on TikTok. But that one in terms of follower count is very much where we were with TikTok a while ago. And YouTube, it's odd. The YouTube shorts that go on there generally do okay numbers. Generally do a few hundred. The podcast. I experimented with taking off the podcast music, the podcast bits and bobs, just in case there's copyright strikes or whatnot. I mean, it's royalty free music, but YouTube and their copyright strikes are quite quick to assume or to affect the channel's reach. So I did a bit of an experiment taking those off. Experimented with what to put in the description for the videos, SEO and all that malarkey that I don't really understand. It didn't really make a difference, so I don't really understand that. But yeah, the YouTube shorts do okay. The podcast on YouTube, it gets the odd view. But yeah, outside of that, for today's show, we have some reviews a bit later on. We're going to talk about some news. We'll just do our sort of general catch up. It's not going to be all me sounding depressive and whatnot, because it is a happy, joyous time. It's just stressful. But we have reviews. We have reviews of Popeye the Slayer Man, which I watched on Tubi. I know. I surprised myself with that selection. Popeye the Slayer Man, and then also the Conjuring Last Rites. And I'll talk a bit about my experience at the cinema with that when we get to the review. We have some news coming up though, horror news. But before that, gaming-wise, because I tend to sort of just do a little bit of a brief on what I've been up to. Gaming-wise, gaming's been very quiet because of the busyness, because of the stress. I've kind of just played little bits here and there of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I'm still enjoying that. I haven't started to flag on it yet, like I do a lot of those games. I am enjoying the aspect of just being able to drop in and go, okay, I need to get more things that I can level up on, but I need higher knowledge points. So, to get to the next knowledge level, you need to get knowledge points, and to do that you either have to find missing scrolls at temples, or do kata experiences, or do memories for Naui. So it's quite nice to just, if I've got a little bit of time before work, like 20 minutes, I can just drop in and go, well, that's near me on the map, let's go there, let's do this. You can just do little missions here and there. I would like to jump back into Death Stranding. Problem with that is you can't just drop in and play 20 minutes, half an hour there, because it's just so FMV heavy. I think if I was to tally up the actual amount of game time total thus far that I've played on that, which will probably only be a couple of hours, really, realistically, versus the amount of actual physical playing time, probably a handful of minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's Kojima, so this is cinema. But yeah, it's difficult when you have limited time to really jump into a game. You can't be dicking around with just watching videos, because you might as well just watch a video. And then, yeah, outside of what we're going to be reviewing, no, there's not really been much to watch. I think at the moment I'm kind of just going through that flux of just putting repetitive things on YouTube. Financial Audit is something I quite like watching. This guy called Caleb Hammer. Or just old reruns of things. Yeah, so it's been I think it's just this week in particular. I think where we are getting closer to the wedding, and there's just been some tough discussions. It's just been a particular week. So I probably should have streamed a few days ago, actually. I feel that I've started the podcast on quite a dour tone, but anyway, let's jump into the horror news. It's playing. It's playing. This is the news. I felt I needed a few swigs there. I felt I needed a few swigs of the old brewski. Fran the Cannon in the chat. Are you up to date on Alien Earth? Yes, I finally got to watch episode 6 this week. I am enjoying it. It's interesting. There's a heavy focus on the octopus eyeball, T-Oculus, whatever it's called, whatever it's been, fan named. I don't know. Which is interesting. Interesting seeing how that factors into this whole world that's being created. I do still find the adult characters playing androids with child's mentalities in their heads kind of annoying. I understand it though, because we are seeing where that is fracturing, because we've got I can't remember any of the characters' names other than Wendy. We've got the one of the Lost Boys or Lost Girl who almost got attacked by the alien, by the eyeball alien, and then became traumatized by that and was talking about, they're pregnant or they're going to be a mum, and just also seeming a little bit dangerous. So yeah, I get that whole aspect of, well, just because we can, does that mean we should? In terms of putting, can we transfer a human psyche into an android? Okay, well, it is possible, but it's best done with a child, because the child brain is more malleable to adapting to different scenarios that could cause mental turmoil on someone older. But then in doing so, you've then also got a child who's then going into experiencing kind of nightmarish scenarios, and the impact that's going to have on a developing mind. It's that's interesting, but also at the same point, when you then got adults being like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to hang out and play games." It's like, that's a bit cringe. It is a bit cringy. Yeah, Fran in the chat, Morrow, Kirsch, and Octo are doing the heavy lifting for me. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I enjoyed the exchange between Morrow and Kirsch, an android and a cyborg, who basically are making it clear that they are quite happy to kill, and they're happy to kill each other, and they have killed. I like that exchange. That was interesting. I thought I'm intrigued as to where this is going to go and where this is going to end up. It's one of those things where, when it comes to the Alien extended universe, basically after the third film, I'm not really a fan of the third film at all. I find it quite boring. But I tend to feel that after the third film, all the entries are just focusing on a variant or a version, not a variant, that's probably not correct, but a version of the traditional xenomorph. Obviously, with Prometheus, more so Covenant, it's David's version of attempting to recreate the xenomorph. It's not him creating it, he is trying to replicate or do, because the black goo was an extract or something to do with the alien, with the xenomorph, because they had that mural in the wall of the training facility of the engineers and blah blah blah. So he's trying to create a version of the xenomorph. So we're not finding out where the xenomorph actually really comes from in those films. I don't know if there was ever a plan to. I don't really get that impression personally. And then Romulus, I really enjoyed Romulus, but again, it is cloning. It comes down to cloning and replicating based on the DNA of the big chap, the alien from Alien. And obviously Resurrection is cloned. They've cloned Ripley's DNA to be able to obtain a copy of the Queen to then create their own versions. So I know that that's an intrinsic part of the DNA of the Alien series, but it's only really intrinsic part from Part 4 onwards. And Part 4 is obviously the lambasted version. So I never understand. I think this is quite an interesting way to bring in actual thoroughbred, as far as we're aware, xenomorph eggs. Are they going to introduce the Queen? I don't know. I mean, I know that there's Ridley Scott doesn't like the Queen. I don't give a shit. It's part of the canon. It just is. Get over it. Like, a lot of people like the Queen. Are they going to introduce that as a way to explain where the eggs came from? Are they going to explain where they went to get the eggs? Was it on LV-426? So were they already aware of the derelict ship? Or were they in that vicinity of space to get the eggs? Because while we've got, and I don't know if I've missed any key bits of dialogue or key bits of data on screen, while we've got that background episode, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, again, the TV lighting sort of takes away some of the terror when you can see a very dry, weirdly moving alien man in a suit. I'll take what I can get when it comes to the space terrors. I like the ferocity of the alien that we had in the first few episodes of Alien Earth. I feel that if we're going to go to the lengths of, we've gone to the far reaches of the darkest reaches of the galaxy to get the most dangerous forms of alien life form. Okay. So did you go to LV-426 and come across the derelict and then were aware of the derelict to send people back out there? I don't know. Or were you in that similar sort of vicinity of space and found another area with the xenomorphs? It's, I don't know. It's going to be interesting if they explain that, because I guess my point of my ramble is, to my knowledge, this is predating Alien. This is then predating all of the testing on the DNA and therefore creating your own version of the alien. Sure, they've extracted an embryo from an egg, but it's from an actual egg, from a facehugger from an egg, to then have that one that they've got in captivity that Mary or Alice, whatever her name is, can talk to. I don't mind that aspect, the communication aspect. They obviously have very much endgamed that character, and I obviously get the impression that Morrow or Wayne Zutani are going to go scorched earth on boy cavalier, prodigy, whatever. Wendy, yeah, sorry, that's the one, Fran, in the chat. I get that impression because by the point of the Alien films, Wendy Tani are they're the central governance as far as we know on Earth, building better planets and building better worlds, all that stuff. But I'm enjoying it. I think I'm enjoying the aspect of having weekly TV that I have to ensure that I tune into because I enjoy the universe and the world. The needle drop music at the end of episodes I'm used to now. When it first happened at the end of the first episode, I was like, commercial rock music in an Alien program, which is normally just score music, was a little bit odd to begin with, but I really enjoy that. Fran in the chat, took me several episodes to realise that comedian Ade Edmondson was playing Boy Cavalier's assistant, so different from his usual roles. Yeah, I didn't really know that until I'd seen on social media about Ade Edmondson being in it, and then I got the gist. I'm interested to see what his role is going to play, because there does seem to be quite an evil menace about him, and quite brutal in firing in one episode. But yeah, I am enjoying it so far. I think there's only 2 more left of season 1. I don't know if it's been renewed for season 2 yet, but yeah, on the whole, I am enjoying it. I think it's just a case of how, this is 2 years before Alien, as far as I know. So, is it going to connect in enough to say, send a message out to one of our mining ships which are in that area to pick up another bit of cargo? That would maybe make sense, because obviously space travel takes a long time, this, that, and the other. The Nostromo gets the message, or picks up the message, but then I don't know. I'm probably thinking too much into a fictional universe, but Ash had replaced whoever the science officer was on the ship. So that would suggest before they went off on their mission, they already had instructions. So they already knew about the distress signal or the warning signal from the derelict. So yeah, I was wondering if at one moment if there would be a message that gets sent out to say, we've lost the specimen, we need you to redirect to this signal and pick it up. But in that case, why would Ash have already been on the ship if not to ensure that his mission goes to plan? I don't know, but it's asking questions, which I like. The next thing that I do want to start watching is Dexter Resurrection, because I'm hearing really good things about that. So far I've managed to avoid general spoilers because I had wanted to finish watching Dexter Original Sin. I'm just finding it a little bit boring, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I think maybe I will just pause Original Sin. It's not bad, it's just that it sort of drags a bit. Maybe I will pause that and jump straight into Resurrection when I get a chance. But it's the horror news. Horror news is a little bit light on the ground this week, so we'll go through what we can. But this all comes from Bloody Disgusting, as per usual. Great site, check them out. Mike Wilson. Saber aims to push the ESRB rating for Hellraiser Revival as far as we possibly can. Saber Interactive and Boss Team Games plan to push the envelope with the upcoming Hellraiser Revival. During an interview with IGN, Saber development chief Tim Willett stated that the team plans to push the game as far as the ESRB's M rating will let them. We are going to go as far as we possibly can, as far as the people that make rules will let us go, Willett states. And I hope that we can make one version, but we are willing to go as far as we possibly can. For those wondering why Saber wouldn't aim for an adults-only rating, a game cannot be sold on certain platforms and at retailers if it was released unrated or rated adults only. As mentioned, when the game was initially revealed back in July, Hellraiser creator Clive Barker has been involved with the development of Hellraiser Revival and has guided the devs on what would work and what wouldn't in the context of the Hellraiser universe. He's come back and said, yeah, Pinhead wouldn't do that, explains Willits, and has come back and said, yeah, you got to tweak this a little bit, because this is Clive's world and he knows stuff that we don't even think about. And he's been really fast too. Sometimes when you work with famous people, you throw something over and then 6 months later they come back and they complain about something. No, here's that on it. In Hellraiser Revival, players assume the role of Aiden, who must unlock the dark powers of a mysterious puzzle box known as the Genesis configuration in order to help his girlfriend from a hellish abyss. You'll harness the box's infernal abilities to survive your pact with the sinister Pinhead, voiced by the returning Doug Bradley, and battle against the twisted cult that worships him and the Cenobites. This new story-driven single-player game is currently in development for PC via Steam, PlayStation 5, and the Xbox Series. Yes, so when this was announced, I was very excited. I mean, the Hellraiser series isn't a series that's like my favourite. I've come to enjoy it a bit more, over the years. But when I was growing up, I was like, yeah, this sadomasochism isn't really for me. I much prefer, your Halloween, Freddy, that sort of thing. But I have grown to enjoy them quite a bit, as I've grown older. I think parts 3 and part 4 definitely do improve with repeat viewings. Hellraiser 2 Hellbound is still my favourite. And then it goes off a sharp decline from there onwards. I have got on my iPad, ready for my flight, the Hellraiser remake, reboot. I want to give that a rewatch because I watched it when it came out. I thought it was decent. It was certainly much better than a lot of the later Hellraiser films that were just pumped out to keep the rights for the series. But I want to give it a proper watch again. So I'm saving that one for when I'm on the flight. But when this game was announced, I just thought, oh god, finally a single-player narrative-focused horror IP video game. It looks incredible. The graphics look really good. The world looks really authentic and dark and morbid, and it just fits the world. So I've got high hopes for this one. We talked a little bit a few weeks ago on the I don't know if I talked about it on the show. I think I might have done, but I definitely did some TikToks on it, on the Halloween video game. I am not holding my hopes out, which is a shame because Halloween is my favourite franchise, for better or worse. Graphically, it looks like Dead by Daylight. Or, those games. It looks like those asymmetrical horror games. It's been announced as being an asymmetrical horror game, but with a single-player story mode. Just even the term mode is a very video gamey term. And you wouldn't have that when playing a Resident Evil game, Silent Hill game. It wouldn't be, oh, do you want to do story mode? Or do you want to, jump into the game, jump into the single player experience, whatever. So I just straight away feel that the story element is going to be tacked on and the single player element is going to be, well, here's the maps. Go and collect these things while avoiding being caught by Michael, And of course, it's a video game. That's what you expect. Video games are very much complete this task to unlock this item to get through to the next area. But we've been quite conditioned with a lot of horror video gaming in the past to kind of just seek out that experience where you're working your way through a story and going through the twists and turns that the narrative brings you. So yeah, Hellraiser, yes, very excited. Halloween, I mean, I will wait till more information comes out on that and, more concrete information before I have any sort of excitement there. Next up, we have some more video game news. Escape a cybernetic research facility in throwback survival horror title Ghost Sector. I think I've got ads about to start, so I'm going to turn them off because it's quite a low-key stream tonight. And ads don't really generate anything worth on my little channel. So they're just going to be more of an annoyance than actually adding any benefits. Let's turn them off. There you go. No ads. So, Mike Wilson writes, developer Polygon Crypt has waded into the throwback survival horror genre with Ghost Sector, which looks and sounds like Origin Systems' cult classic PC title Bioforge. Originally revealed as part of the Mix showcase back in March, Ghost Sector is currently slated for a Q1 2026 release on Steam and will be part of the Brutal Indie Unleashed showcase that will stream later today. Ghost Sector takes place on planet RX-712, once a maximum security prison, but now transformed into an advanced research station. As the forefront of cybernetic robotic technology, the M-Tech Corporation converted the derelict prison into a massive robotic research facility. You awaken as M07, a machine prototype with an unexplained anomaly at its core after a disastrous event. The entire complex is in lockdown. The automated defense systems have been activated. You'll need to scour the facility and search the various terminals to uncover notes about just what happened, as well as find out who you are. As you traverse the complex, you'll need to solve intricate puzzles. You can choose to bypass the base's defenses and the horrors that are lurking within the facility, or take them on in combat. Keep in mind that you're not equipped to deal with combat just yet. Luckily, you can discover upgrades for your body throughout the facility. However, every upgrade is a double-edged sword, enhancing your capabilities while depleting your finite energy reserves. I'll have a quick look at a video with the audio muted, because it definitely, in terms of throwback, looks like it based on the graphics. It's got a real sort of PS1, early PC gaming graphical quality to it. Yeah, it's very PS1. Obviously, from the description, it's quite a sci-fi focused title, which sci-fi is an odd genre for me. I like sci-fi chillers, sci-fi horrors, of course, being a horror boy. I want to like sci-fi more than I do, though. It's like when I try to read like a science fiction novel or a fantasy novel, I get so bogged down in the weird names that I then just struggle to keep focus. Because you also quite often you get such a data dump of information. The Trajectus Galaxy, the far reaches of the so-and-so Novo system, and blah blah blah, the planetoids, blah blah. It's just a lot. It's very data dense quite often. But yeah, I mean, this trailer does not really give a lot away. It yeah, doesn't look like my sort of thing. I will just say that for now. Next up, John Squires writes, Jawbone, Michelle Garza Cavera directing TV series adaptation of horror novel. Monica Ojeda's horror novel Jawbone is headed to the small screen with a series adaptation, Deadline reports, and the project has already attracted some pretty impressive names. For starters, Michelle Garza Cavera, who did Huesera, the Bone Woman, is attached to direct and produce the series, with Nick Antosca, Channel Zero, on board as producer. We're fans of Channel Zero here at Ministry of Horror. Gail Garcia Bernal, Diego Luna, and Kaiser Terezas will produce via La Corriente del Golfo. Joaquin Castellanos will write and executive produce. Jawbone tells the story of Fernanda and Annalise, who are so close they're practically sisters, a double image inseparable. So how does Fernanda end up bound on the floor of a deserted cabin, held hostage by one of her teachers and estranged from Annalise? Amazon's description for the novel previews interweaving pop culture references and horror concepts drawn from Herman Melville, H.P. Lovecraft, and anonymous creepypastas. Jawbone is an ominous multivocal novel that explores the terror inherent in the pure potential of adolescence and the fine line between desire and fear. Up next from Michelle Garza Cavera is The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, starring Micah Monroe and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, a fresh take on the same titled 1990s thriller. Okay, interesting. I mean, I don't know anything about the novel Jawbone, but The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, that was always a decent little thriller back in the day. I don't know how well it's aged in terms of the story, but I remember watching it. I remember watching it on BBC Two, probably back in the 90s. Probably far too young to be watching it, but I remember watching it. Next up, Clint Howard reveals new Ice Cream Man sequel plans. Megan Navarro writes, Terrifier 3 actor Clint Howard previously revealed the pre-production is underway on a follow-up to the 1995 cult film Ice Cream Man, and the actor recently teased new plot details. Those familiar with Ice Cream Man may wonder how a sequel may be possible, considering Howard's character, Gregory Tudor, was dismembered by his own ice cream mixer. It sounds as though the planned follow-up won't be a direct continuation. Speaking with Bloody FM's Dead Meat at Halloween Horror Nights in celebration of the new Terrifier house, Howard teased that he'd be playing a new Ice Cream Man. This Ice Cream Man is different. There's not a lot of children in it. And by about page 60, you're going to start to understand why a man would put body parts in his ice cream, Howard teases. Howard, who's developed the sequel with wife Catherine Cruz and original director Norman Epstein, previously divulged a bloody disgusting while on the set of Terrifier 3. It has no similarity to the first one, except that I'm getting hired to play an Ice Cream Man. We're going to make the movie at a modest level, so on this particular trip, Kat and I are really keeping our eyes open and seeing how the Terrifier 3 crew is doing everything. They may not realise it, but they're sharing information with us. In the original 1995 film, starring David Norton, Olivia Hussey, and Jan Michael Vincent, Gregory, the local ice cream man, just wants people to be nice to him and to sell the neighbourhood children his ice cream treats. Unfortunately, the adults disrespect him and the kids fear him. So, as any recently released mental patient would do, Gregory begins brutally murdering anyone who prevents him from having a happy, happy, happy day. It's also worth noting that there's another Ice Cream Man movie on the way, but one unconnected to Howard's feature. Eli Roth is also writing and directing an Ice Cream Man horror movie, said to be the story of an idyllic summer town descending into madness when an Ice Cream Man serves his kids sweet delights with horrifying results. There you go. I've never seen the Ice Cream Man. Hell, we're going to be, possibly doing, we are going to be doing a watch party because I haven't done them recently. Let's have a look if on Prime we have the Ice Cream Man. There's a Rift Tracks version of it. You can also available to rent or buy. We'll have a little quick look on Plex, not to watch it on Plex because I really got put off using the service when we did Mirrors or Mirror, whatever it's called. But that does tell you where things are available to stream. So it's available on the Arrow with a subscription. Well, I don't have Arrow anymore, so I won't be watching it. But never seen it. Should see it at some point. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of Clint Howard from his little odd appearances here and there, but don't ever really hear people talk about Ice Cream Man. It's one of those films that's known, but no one really sort of goes, "Oh man, you've got to see Ice Cream Man." So, I won't be in a rush then to watch that one. And then finally, more horror game news. Sci-fi FMV horror title Dead Reset out now on PC and consoles. Mike Wilson writes. Dark Rift Horror and Wales Interactive, oh god, here we go. Their latest foray into FMV horror gaming is Dead Reset, and it's out today on Steam, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Death is not the end in this game, but it offers a terrifying new perspective as you get closer to the truth. In this sci-fi horror adventure, players find themselves in the shoes of Surgeon Cole Mason. Kidnapped and brought to an underwater facility, Cole is forced to operate on a patient in order to extract an evolving parasitic horror. Of course, things will go awry one way or another, resulting in your demise. You must master the death loop in order to uncover the path to escape. Dead Reset was designed to get under the skin of the player and deliver relentless scares driven by some gruesome practical effects and a time-bending descent into terror, says director Stuart Spark. I can't wait for people to dive in and play our blood-drenched interactive love letter to the horror genre. Players will find themselves immersed in a blood-soaked interactive narrative with cinematic scares, bloody practical effects, and high-stakes choice-driven gameplay that put you at the heart of a relentless sci-fi horror movie. You'll need to steer Cole on a path of redemption or damnation in your fight for survival. There are no easy choices as your morality is tested at every turn and your decisions will result in 4 wildly different endings. You'll be building trust or fracturing alliances. Each bond forged or broken influences your road to survival. You can use the in-game tracker to check your relationship with other characters, provided that they are still alive. I've played one Wales interactive game. What was it called? It was called like Amy or Mary or something. It was a girl's name, and Erica. I think it was that. It's weird. I mean, it was all right, but it's the sort of game where it's like, if I'd spent any more than £10 in it, I'd be pissed off. But they have an audience. They have a fan base. You know, it's like a live action Dark Pictures anthology. You know, take from that what you will. But hey, that is it for the horror news. That was the news. Bosh. We brought the music back. We brought it back for one night only, maybe, don't know. Now it's time for reviews. Cover your ears. There we go. So, starting off the reviews, we gons to talk about Popeye the Slayer Man. So, as with all the reviews, I will talk a little bit about the plot, talk about the people behind it. I'll talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and give you a score out of 10. Okay, so I had I've done a video on TikTok a little while ago about top 5 recommendations for streamers on Tubi. So Tubi is a free platform that I know I've overlooked quite often in the past, because sometimes when you go on there, what you'll get on your homepage for whatever genre will be, you know, a few known things, but also a lot of dirge, a lot of what one could consider shite. But in actuality, they got some classics on there. So some of the things that I mentioned is you've got the original trilogy of I Know What You Did Last Summer available to stream, and that's pretty good. You got the first 2 films and the god awful 3rd film. There's of course one of my favourites, Ty West's House of the Devil. Banshee Chapter is an incredible found footage film. I can't remember what else I recommended. The TV series Nosferatu. Seasons 1 and 2, I believe, are both on there. But also, if you have had Shudder in the past, or you know have wondered about Shudder, there's a lot of Shudder stuff on there, which makes me think, why am I paying money for Shudder when a lot of their stuff is being farmed out to other platforms? Carl Stewart from the TikTok mentioned to me today that Channel 5 have a deal with Shudder. So on 5 On Demand, there's a lot of Shudder, you know, products on there. But yeah, you can get Creepshow, you can get a few other Shudder Originals, Host, you can get those on Tubi. So there's quite a lot of things that are worth your time. Now, as mentioned, there's also a lot of dirge. There is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which I watched and I hated. Blood and Honey 2, which is supposed to be better. I've not watched it yet because I hated the first film. There's the film Mouse of Horror, I think it was called. The one set at a fairground with a guy who is a mutant mouse, but he's very clearly wearing a mask and it comes off as a mask, but we don't. It was awful. The sound in that was terrible. The mixing, of course, you know, the audio mixing, terrible. So we have some dirge on there, some terrible stuffs on there. And Fran in the chat says, yes, and I do realise that because I've got Wikipedia open at the moment. She realised there's 2 other Popeye horrors, Popeye's Revenge and Shiver Me Timbers. Here's the new Mickey Mouse, it seems. Yeah, I mean, once a classic character becomes public domain, then it's let's make a horror film of him. I'll have a quick look, actually, at Popeye's Revenge and Shiver Me Timbers. I mean, the artwork for these both look quite similar. Popeye's Revenge is produced by ITN Studios. Is that like the ITV studio? Don't know. And it does not take place in the Twisted Childhood universe. What about Shiver Me Timbers, which has also been released? It's a splatter comedy horror. Yeah, it doesn't. That one doesn't. So I don't think any of these Popeye jobbies are part of that Twisted Childhood group. You know, which is what it is. Whatever. But yeah, I saw this on there and I thought, okay, well, it's a short film. I can put it on in the background while I'm doing some chores. Lots of chores. Kill me now. And oh god, this is going to go down as the depressing episode, I imagine. Anyway, and yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my thoughts in a bit. Let's talk about the plot. So it's a 2025 American B horror slasher film, screenplay by John Doolan and directed by Robert Michael Ryan. It stars Jason Robert Stevens, Sarah Nicklin, Mabel Thomas, Sean Michael Conway, Angelica Reluccio, Scott Swoop. The film serves as a horror retelling of E.C. Seeger's Popeye. The film is one of 3 live-action horror films featuring Popeye that were released in 2025 after the character started becoming public domain in the United States. The other 2, Popeye's Revenge and Shiver Me Timbers. Okay, one night, 2 drug dealers chase a young woman named Adrienne, who has stolen a stash of cocaine from them into the Anchor Bay Cannery, an abandoned dockside can factory reputedly haunted by the Sailor Man. As the men corner her, they are brutally killed by a hulking, supernaturally strong figure. The following day, Lex Allister, the CEO who owns the town and Canary, meets with Harrigan, a lawyer representing an urban development firm planning to demolish the facility. Harrigan raises her client's concerns about contamination reports that led to the facility's 20-year closure, which Allister continues to deny. As the conversation ends, they smell pipe smoke. While Allister investigates, Harrigan is startled by Allister's security guard, Angus, and loses an important file folder. After Harrigan and Allister leave, Angus searches the premises and discovers the dealers' bodies after being killed by the Sailor Man. Dexter, a student at Sunny I don't know how to pronounce that. Onionta. Yep. Decides to film a documentary about the legendary Sailor Man before the Canary is torn down. Or the cannery, I should probably say. That's probably how it's pronounced. I'm saying canary. I'm pretty sure it's a cannery. Is torn down, accompanied by his crush, Olivia, a girl with an unknown background, and his friends Lisa, Seth, Lisa's love interest, and Katie. Okay. So I had to read a little bit ahead because they're kind of the main characters in this joint. So, what would I say about this film other than I was kind of pleasantly surprised? It's quite fun. First off, for a public domain horror film, it looks alright. It's shot quite well. The appearance of Popeye, he looks pretty good. Like, yeah, he's got the over-exaggerated forearms and he's obviously got a silicone or whatever jaw on him, like a mask. But it certainly looks better than like the Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, or that Piglet film we watched a little while ago. It's fucking terrible. It certainly looks a step up in terms of the budget. Production values are decent. Audio mixing, decent, Yeah, the acting in this is fine. No one particularly stands out, but no one's particularly bad. The kills in this are what make this a fun B-movie. There's head crushing, there's head ripping off. Someone gets an arm ripped off and they get beaten to death with their own arm. I thought I was watching Ninja Scroll at one point. But it's a neat story, it's your typical thing of a group of filmmakers or a group with a filmmaker want to go to a reportedly haunted location, but in doing so they find themselves in oh god, my stupid watch. But in doing so they find themselves caught in the crosshairs of other people, and it all comes to a head. So it's a neat little horror film. It's not amazing. I wouldn't say, wow, I was blown by this. I hope it gets a physical media release so I can buy it. But in terms of watching a film on Tubi, which is a free service, doesn't cost you anything. Tubi does have ads, but I don't even think this film had an ad. If not, it only had one maybe at the start, maybe one in the middle of the film. So for a film that's 80 minutes, 88 minutes, it's a standard hour and a half film. It had next to no interruptions, which I think is really good, considering I'm watching it for free. Considering watching this on Netflix or Prime, I probably would have had more noticeable advert breaks, and I pay for those services. Yeah, I mean, as Fran says in chats, this sounds like it's in the same sort of genre as something like Hatchet. Yes. A B movie horror slasher is the exact perfect genre for this. Bunch of characters going into a location where there's a nasty killer going on. As the story progresses, you get a bit of backstory, get some interesting character developments. It's a fun time, actually. So yeah, I would definitely say this is in the Hatchet area of slashers. I would not be opposed to a Popeye the Slayer Man sequel, because yeah, I think it's a bit better than it probably one would assume. And I know I would have easily just scrolled past this and thought, oh God, another Winnie the Pooh type film. For God's sake, no. I, you know, I enjoy having some elements of sanity left, rather than losing them to watching another public domain horror. But I actually quite dug this. I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. Part of me was thinking 5.5, but in actuality, why would I knock it down? I mean, yeah, it's not technically a good film, but I was pleasantly surprised. It did the right things that it needed to do. It was decent enough. Maybe on a repeat viewing, I might think, hey, fuck it, it's closer to a 7. You know? But on a service like Tubi that is free, and if you're like me and you sometimes have it when you think, I want to watch something new, I need to, especially doing the show, I try to always try and get something new to review. And sometimes, especially with the wedding coming up, it's just not really sensible to buy new films as soon as they come out, rent new films, especially, when they're the at-home premiere prices, which are very extortionate, and can't always get down to the cinema, get down on deal days and all that stuff. It becomes quite, difficult to find something to watch. So seeing a new film on a free service and the film actually being entertaining, I can't really complain about that. 6 out of 10 for Popeye the Slayer Man. And then finally on the reviews, Ghouls and Fiends, I watched The Conjuring Last Rites. Conjuring Last Rites, 2025 American supernatural horror film directed by Michael Chavez and written by Ian Goldberg, Richard Naig, David Leslie Johnson McGodrick. The film is the 9th film in the Conjuring universe and is based on the real-life investigations of the Smurl haunting case. I'm going to read up on that probably after the show. It stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, who I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry, who reprised their roles as paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, along with Mia Tomlinson and Ben Hardy. The Last Rites was... Oh, I don't need to read that bit there. Also, Ben Hardy, who was on EastEnders, apparently, and played Archangel in X-Men Apocalypse. Don't know that. I thought I sort of recognised him, but didn't put 2 and 2 together as being from X-Men. Wait a minute, it says that he played X-Men in Apocalypse. No, that's a different Ben Hardy. I'm very confused. Ben Hardy. Oh no, maybe he did. Maybe it was a different Archangel. Oh God, I don't know. I think X-Men 3. I think the Archangel that was in X-Men 3 was also played by someone called Ben Hardy. Don't know. I'm getting very sidetracked here. But anyway, I'll read the small haunting later on. So I'll talk a bit about the plot, and I'll talk about my cinema experience. We'll then get into the highs and lows of the film overall, come up with the score. So in 1964, an expecting Ed and Lorraine Warren investigate a haunting involving an antique mirror at a curio shop. Lorraine collapses upon seeing a vision of an entity and her unborn child and goes into labour. Ed speeds Lorraine to the hospital, but the baby is stillborn. However, Lorraine's prayers revive the baby, whom she names Judy. 22 years later, the Smurl family moves to Pennsylvania. Jack and Janet Smurl share the home with Jack's parents, Mary and John, along with their 4 daughters, Dawn, Heather, and twins Karen and Shannon. For Heather's confirmation ceremony, John gifts her the antique mirror. During dinner, a kitchen ceiling light suddenly crashes down, narrowly missing Heather. Due to Ed's worsening heart condition, the Warrens retire from their investigations, but continue giving lectures, which are now sparsely attended. While at dinner, Judy, who has become increasingly sensitive to psychic visions, has an episode and begins to panic. Using a rhyme created while Judy was a little girl, Lorraine helps her calm down and reminds her to always shut herself off from the supernatural. Okay, so we'll stop there, but that's just to kind of give you an overview, really, on the dynamic between Ed and Lorraine, their daughter, and the Smurl family. Okay, so this is directed by Michael Chavez, who also directed The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. He also directed, I believe, The Nun and The Nun 2. So he has become Mr. Conjuring, as opposed to James Wan, who's producer and directed the first 2 Conjuring films. Also worth mentioning, Michael Chavez did The Curse of La Llorona. Oh, he didn't do The Nun. He just did The Nun too. I don't know who did The Nun. So he did The Curse of La Llorona, which has apparently been confirmed by him is not a Conjuring film. It just has some Easter eggs in it. So the reason why The Curse of La Llorona has had this whole thing of it's a Conjuring film, no, it's not a Conjuring film, blah, 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 blah. Why is it no longer a Conjuring film? Is apparently it never was a Conjuring film. Those characters and little, moments were just Easter eggs. I'm pretty sure, though, my copy of The Curse of La Llorona says the Conjuring universe on it, but neither here nor there. But yeah, he did The Devil Made Me Do It, which is a decent horror film. It's a decent Conjuring film, but it just isn't as good as the first 2. And I enjoy, to varying extents, the spin-offs. I thought the first Annabelle film was kind of crap. I really enjoyed Annabelle Creation. I found... Did Michael Chavez also do Annabelle Comes Home? No, I don't think he did. But yeah, Annabelle Comes Home I found kind of boring. I'm not entirely sure why, but I found that one kind of boring. The Nun was okay, but just too dark. You couldn't really see what was going on. The Nun 2 I did think was better. But The Nun 2, Devil Made Me Do It, etc. I did feel that the supernatural elements were ramped up entertainment-wise, but also becoming more and more outlandish. We kind of lost so much the focus on purely just the scares and possession elements and focusing more on uber supernatural instances. And I guess with sequels you always have to up the ante. But with The Devil Made Me Do It, there's like murders and stuff in it, and obviously there's a murder case, which of course is the crux for the real life situation. But then there's also the antagonist who's conjuring up things and murdering and all that stuff, which again is good for the film, but it makes it feel less real, in quotation marks, less terrifying. And that then brings us to The Conjuring Last Rites. So this has had the biggest opening weekend box office in horror history, for a horror film in history, which is awesome news. It's great for the franchise. It proves that they're still staying power this late into the franchise. I think a big part of that is that these films are great for cinema viewing because of the jump scares, and also Patrick and Vera are they got awesome chemistry. Like, they just fall effortlessly back into these characters, and it's not always that easy. I mean, returning to the characters in Insidious: The Red Door, I just thought that was an all right chapter. It didn't feel like we were returning back to that family many years later. It felt like, well, they're playing that role, but it didn't just feel like, they're back as themselves. I don't know how to explain it more eloquently. Whereas when we then come to something like the Conjuring series, we can have no instances of Ed and Lorraine for a long time, and then they're back, and it's like they never left. But my cinema experience, it was a very packed cinema. It's been out, the weekend last week. Came out last Friday, and I managed to get down to see it on Wednesday this week. Busy cinema screening, which means chatty Cathy's. When it came up with the screen saying, the BBFC screen, and then even later on when it has the actual title card for The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It, or The Conjuring Last Rites, I should say. You then had people with the flashes on their phones taking pictures. What for? Oh, social media to say that I went to watch the film. Just say you went to watch the film. I always just think that's so fucking dumb, and it's distracting. Like, again, it's just me having old man shouts at cloud rants, but it says at the start of the film, turn your phones off, or silent, whatever. But some people just, whatever. It was quite chatty, early doors, but as the film started getting going, the film was quite loud. I didn't really notice it too much, but where I did notice it is the moments where you really wanted everyone to just shut the fuck up. And that is leading up to the jump scares. So for me, I'm not entirely sure without the distractions if the jump scares are actually that good in this one. So for anyone who is maybe not that familiar with the term jump scare being a moment in a film that is designed purely to create a jumping, just to startle you. And the Conjuring films do those very well. So quite often it's a situation where a character is being led into a room, something has grabbed their attention, something that we as the audience know is maybe not good, something that's maybe evil or supernatural. So that character is followed into the room and the music goes down, it gets quieter, it comes down to almost silence. It's maybe got a bit of a stirring string effect in the audio as the character is looking for this item or is looking to see what is occurring, what is causing something out of the ordinary to occur. Until we get to a moment when their vision catches something. Either they turn around, something's there. Either they're looking at something before something behind the something they're looking at appears. But during those moments, you just have people who just can't shut up. There'd be moments where it all goes quiet and they're building tension, but then you've got someone going, oh no, I wouldn't do that. And it's just like, okay, well, you've just really killed the attention here. You've killed the tension. There's moments where you get a joke. Someone says a joke in the film which lightens the tension, and then you have some dickhead who thinks they're a comedian sparking off in the audience with like their own little retorts. And it's just like, do you actually think you're being funny? Like, do you actually think people think, oh, good one, man. You had a good joke there. Like, it's not, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I just think it's great to see a film doing well. It's great to see a film having a large audience, bringing people to go to the cinema and making a film profitable so that more films can be made or more IPs can be, ventured. But it is the people that are the worst part about the cinema. I mean, I've done packed screenings like for Jurassic World Rebirth, where it was great. People weren't talking. You had people with their kids and the kids would be restless, whatever, and this happens. But you didn't have people outwardly being dickheads, people who should know better, being arrogant pricks. And unfortunately, it's this kind of situation we're in where there's just this entitlement sometimes. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. I will preface that. It wasn't as bad. I will say that. It's not really preface because we're quite deep into the conversation. It could have been much worse. It could have been much more annoying. But, it was just... It just made it so that when it came to the jump scare moments, I didn't jump. I didn't jump once. And I always jump at horror films when there's moments to be jumped at, like Weapons. Weapons got me good a few times. And it had and those moments were memorable, where it was with this. Ghosts, entities, demonic presences look creepy enough. They're based around these creepy smiles, but there's something quite CGI about them. It's not like in Insidious or Smile or the first Conjuring film where you get these appearances, Valak the nun, and it's a person. You can tell it's a person there, and they've had heavy makeup and exaggerated smiles and all that stuff, which is creepy. Here, there's definitely a flare of CGI-ism on the appearances, and when you get those for a very brief glimpse, quite creepy. But when it lingers a bit longer, you're like, It's no CGI. No, it's not scary. Also, some of the effects in this are a little bit ropey. There's a particular moment with something that has an exaggerated size that made me think more of Resident Evil Village in the dollhouse. Also, in terms of graphics, I mean, Resident Evil Village is a great looking game, but it is a video game, not a feature film. So there's just a couple of moments where I sort of thought, that didn't look quite as good as I'd maybe expect this late into the series. And when it gets into the second half and the shit is hitting the fan, I should say, as you would expect, that isn't really a spoiler. It's entertaining, but yeah, it's not scary. And one of the things that I've loved with the Conjuring films and the Insidious films, the first few anyway, is that they're quite scary. Like, you know, not to the extent of, oh god, I'm terrified, I'm going to sleep with the lights on. Like, you know, I'm a grown man. But, you know, you can have it where you have moments that particularly make you unnerved and startled. And this one has a heartwarming story. The characters that are introduced or developed on are all, you know, good, interesting. I did feel for the last case, for the most terrifying case, that the background of the evil in this film was a little bit half-baked. It had a lot of build-up, and I don't necessarily think that there was much reward to that build-up, personally. Yeah, it was decent, but when I was in the car on the way back with Tom talking about our scores, his score was 7. It's an entertaining film. Wasn't scary. It's his first proper Conjuring film as well, and he had expectations of being terrified because of the trailers and everything. For me, I was like, okay, well, it's no more than a 7. I may be leaning to more like a 6.5. No lower, because I did generally enjoy the film. I generally enjoyed the story, but for a Conjuring film, the trailer hype made it look like this could be terrifying. But all of the moments that could be deemed scary were in the trailer. They were. And so normally with my scores, I tend to want to sleep on it so I can then come back with well, here's my official score. I've slept on it. There, you know, with Weapons, initially I was thinking, it's good. I don't think it was as good as I was hoping it to be based on Barbarian and based on not that long ago seeing Bring Her Back, which I thought was incredible. But sleeping on it, yeah, I mean, Weapons is pretty incredible. I really did dig it. But with sleeping on this, I do kind of feel my initial gut reaction was solid, 6.5. I think where I would land this in my rankings, I think my top 3 were Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, 2, Annabelle Creation 3, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, I think was 4. I can't remember exactly, I may be getting it slightly wrong. Is this better than Annabelle? Yes. Is this better than Annabelle Comes Home? Yeah, I probably need to give both of them a rewatch, but I did tend to find Annabelle Comes Home gets a bit boring. This wasn't really boring. Is it better than The Nun? Yes. Yeah, because The Nun didn't have the Warrens in it, really, and the Warrens are part of the draw for these films. Is it better than The Nun 2 or The Devil Made Me Do It? I mean, I'd maybe say it's on par with The Nun 2. I don't think it's better than The Devil Made Me Do It. I think The Devil Made Me Do It certainly had a few scarier scenes in it, but I definitely don't think The Conjuring has really reached the fear factors since the first 2 James Wan films or the David F. Sandberg Annabelle Creation. That is generally quite a scary film. So yeah, The Conjuring Last Rites, 6.5 out of 10. Watch it. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think in socials or on Discord. But that's kind of where I'd land it. There is a film I need to try and watch this weekend because the review embargo lifts on Monday, so I want to get out a particular review for that on then, which I think is called The White Van. which looks particularly creepy. So I'm very excited to watch that and review that. So we'll try and do a show next week. I will aim to get a show in next week, if not a micro review episode for that film. I am then going the following week to a advanced screening of Good Boy, the dog-centric horror film, haunted house horror film. That does have a review embargo for early October, I believe. So what I will probably have to do is record a review for that, but schedule it to release while I'm in America, because I'll be away. I'll be away on my wedding and honeymoon. Yeah, that's it for the show. We will stick around. We'll do a watch party. We'll have a little catch-up chat off recording. Fran the Can chat says they should play the opening from Scream 2 before every film and end that with the please turn off your phone and hush messages. They should do. I mean, the difficulty is, as a nation, thus older parts of the nation still have the British too politeness. And when there are people being dickheads, a lot of us, me included, won't want to get up, miss part of the film, to then go to the front to say people are talking throughout the film. Because one, you're being a snitch, which shouldn't be an issue, but you know, it can be. And two, you're missing part of the film and whatnot. And sometimes if you confront people to say, hey, shh, or shut the fuck up, it can then get volatile, because everyone, especially these days, everyone thinks that they're a wide boy after watching Top Lad or whatever it is on Netflix. And people just have this attitude and think they're hard nuts when it's like a gust of wind would knock them over. Anyway, yeah, it's a difficult one. And also a lot of people carry weapons these days, and it can just end up being something ridiculous over nothing, because people feel that they have to, you know. Well, we saw that show Adolescence on Netflix, and that's kind of part of the crux of it, is this expectation to defend your honour and all that shit, and the tragic consequences from that dumb mentality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, listening, wherever you're digesting this content. Be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe on all the platforms, podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube. Let's try and build up that YouTube channel. TikTok, if you don't already have TikTok, well, if you do have TikTok, I should say, I'm not going to encourage you to download the app if it's not your thing. But if you do have TikTok, search for Ministry of Horror. It's building nicely over there. I am enjoying doing my little reviews, news pieces, discussion points. It's a good outlet for me on a daily basis, and yeah, I put things on there a couple of times a day. Give it a check out if you like. And yeah, Instagram, Reels, YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. Discord. I need to be a bit more active in there. I've been slacking recently because there's been so much going on. As I say, weddings be a stressful time. They do be. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.